This is the Longleaf Baseball Podcast number 3. I don't know. Why did I start as a robot? I got hooked into it. Welcome back. If you've been here before, welcome if you've never been here. We have the assumption around here that Raleigh's going to get a Major League ball club someday, and that is the assumption behind everything I write about. And if you disagree, I get it. This still might be the place for you. I could have said, this isn't the place for you. Find your way out. This still might be the place for you because the things we consider are still fun things to consider about baseball in general, or Raleigh, the city, or how these kinds of decisions get made. I was recently seeing a whole bunch of media from the city of Orlando, just, in my opinion, kind of garbage versions of how you would tabulate or show data to prove it's a good city to go. I mean, Orlando has a ton of people, and they have plenty of media market. That's their major chart they were showing is how much ad sales are sold per year across media. On their same chart, there's a massive percentage of overlap between them and Tampa. So they're just skimming over. So just listen, every city's got to put their best foot forward, but come on, Orlando. I feel like I shouldn't do that. I feel like novice baseball fan in Detroit is like, come on, Raleigh, it's going to be Charlotte or Nashville, which is not. I'm telling you, it's not. But I get it. I suppose people in Orlando could get just as defensive. It reminds me a little bit of when your favorite band or singer releases a tour and it's got your city on it, and you're like, yeah, I knew I liked you. I mean, around here, a lot of times bands or singers or artists will go to Charlotte or Asheville and skip over Raleigh, and you're like, oh, I like you 20% less. And when Raleigh's on the tour, instead of those other ones, you're like, yeah, that's right. This is where artists come. But I mean, when they're making those decisions about, which city to come to in their tour, it's a combination of where they've had success before, their experiences, and a whole bunch of just their perception of the area and what the cities might be like, or where they've been the last time that, I don't know, they wandered around Fayetteville Street and were like, I don't know about Raleigh, or they got taken to some fun places. And it's just kind of interesting to think about how those perceptions have to factor into expansion cities cases. It's a little bit like artist tours. Yeah, and thinking about that, thinking about one of my favorite bands is coming to Raleigh, Smidley. It's not a band any of you know or have heard of. Well, some of you, because I've told you. But I am the quintessential lover of bands who sound made up, as if I'm playing a character who doesn't like mainstream music. Though the music is not that, it's not that avant-garde, it's not that out there. It's all, verse, chorus, hook, melody, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I like bands named Smidley, Frightened Rabbit, Tokyo Police Club, bunch of white guys from Canada. Yeah, it sounds sounds like I'm trying to do it. I'm not. They're good bands, I promise. Check out Smidley. Going to be at King's in October. And I bring that up to connect the tour metaphor to also my takes in general, which I grant are not the most mainstream. I mean, what do you want me to do? You want me to sit here and talk about how we should put a ballpark next to where they play hockey? Fart noise. Let's just do it. You're allowed to make fart noises on podcasts. I mean, I could do that, and I'll get around to writing about that. There's plenty of benefits, plenty to like about that idea of eventually sticking a Raleigh ballpark out near where the Hurricanes play. But I'm not going to start there. That's not the most interesting. So recently on the site, I have a bit up about a spot in East Raleigh where St. Augustine's campus is. And I just run through what I think is feasible about it, what would be cool about it, the problems that need to get solved that are the same for a lot of places. So check that out if you haven't read that yet. Raleigh Baseball Ballpark Spot, St. Augs, is up on the site. So read through that. Engage with me there or here. If you do have questions or things you want me to talk about on the next podcast, put them in the comments for this video, and I'll get back to you. I'll shout you out. So I recognize some of my takes are not going to be. I mean, I have a series running called basically what should we name the team? And I'm not starting with the obvious ones like Reaper or Copperhead or what's in our history, capitals, or those are all those things. I'll get around to those things. Those are good things. So far, I've taken on trees, in which I favor dogwoods, and dogs out of animals. And I have a whole rationale and some thought experiments around the different benefits of naming the Raleigh Hounds or the Raleigh Dogs. So check that out if you haven't. I think it's a fun argument. But those are probably not what's going to happen, right? Those are the exercises I think, the kind of outlier cases that allow us to brainstorm and think through what the actual criteria are for choosing these kinds of things. And in the end, it's mostly taste, but there's plenty of practical things to consider that go beyond just the pure marketing or the pure roll off the tongue of it all. Somebody today was just saying they like Raleigh Reapers, which is, I prefer the city over the region name, but Carolina Reaper is the actual pepper. But then you do Raleigh Reaper, it can be the actual Reaper, and you play off the pepper elsewhere. A dancing hot pepper, that's a good mascot in my book. I'm here for that, for sure. Okay, look, do you remember when it was faux pas to look at your phone for notes? But now if you're a reporter somewhere and somebody's crashed, you're like, his name was John Smith. It's what you do. You use your phone. So I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm basically a sideline reporter here. I'm on the road. I'm telling you about the traffic. I-40, it's moving smoothly right now. It's the middle of the day. So a couple random things I wanted to talk about on here. One is something weird about our baseball life where we live is we don't have a team around us, but we still face blackout restrictions. And if you don't know what blackout restrictions are, it's a fine theory. It just plays out really stupid. If you have a local team that's going to be on local cable, you're not going to be able to watch it elsewhere. So, for instance, I watch all my baseball here for this team, the Cubs, on the MLB app, basically. Here, I'll switch over to the home team. There we go. Costume change, baby. And with MLB, I don't get the blackout that people who live in Chicago get. They can't watch half the games because they're in the home city. I get blacked out for Washington National games, which is such a weird thing that I never think about. And that, first of all, hopefully baseball addresses that in the coming years, because it's just such a strange thing. You get all ready to go watch your game, and you can't watch it because they've thrown it on Apple, which they're showing some games on Apple sometimes, and Prime and Netflix and MLB app and all the various local media companies that run most games for their market. But yeah, we get blacked out for the Washington Nationals because but just a reminder, that's the closest team. It's kind of far away, right? But that is the closest team, and we still get blacked out as if we're part of the Washington, D.C. market. It's just a crazy thing about where we are right now in terms of sort of geographic, the vacancy for where Raleigh is. It's right in the middle of this huge hole, right? But that team, the Cubs, are no longer playing in Washington right now, and they're on the West Coast. That's another interesting aspect of being a baseball fan and a regular watcher is the schedule for your team really affects just your schedule. I'm used to the game being on at 7 or 8, and so the pattern of how you get kids to bed and then go watch some of the game and then pause it, do stuff, finish off the rest of it in bed if they're winning. If not, turn it off and just go to bed. But now the games don't start till 9:40 sometimes when they're playing in Seattle or Arizona right now. So that's just a strange aspect to any fan's schedule is what's going on with your team. And obviously, it would be cool if I just liked the team in my own time zone. That would help me out. The timing would be a little bit more regular. But every team travels a lot, right? Every team has to go out west. Every team has to go all over. And it's just interesting how the ebb and flow of the daily life can change depending on what the schedule is for the different baseball games. And the same thing comes with football if you guys are NFL fans, right? On Sunday, if your team's terrible, you get a pretty regular schedule where you're playing at 1 every week because they're not putting you in prime time. And then if your team all of a sudden starts doing really well, has a couple good winning seasons. For instance, the Patriots schedule this year is crazy. They don't play 2 games on similar times ever. They're 8:00 here, they're Monday there, they're Thursday there. It destroys the whole rhythm of the fan experience. Yeah, that's part of the price you pay for having a successful team that you care about sometimes. Baseball doesn't do that to you, but every team's gonna zigzag around the country, and that's gonna get you. I'm looking at my notes again to bring up the other post I wanted to mention is I have a whole story about. I actually did some what I feel is reporting. Went and dug through the current collective bargaining agreement and found the basic structure for how you calculate revenue for any team. I did this around the trade deadline because I was curious where Raleigh would be as a team if it just blinked into existence and was part of the trade deadline. Because if you're a poor team and a loser team, you sell your good players away that have expensive contracts. And if you're a successful team that has money, you buy those decent players for the rest of the season. You just pay for the 2 months and take the contract off the loser team's hands. But that's kind of demoralizing if you're always in the position of having to sell. That just means you suck. But also, if you're not in the position of having a good year, but you can't afford to take on some of those bigger contracts, and some teams at the bottom of the relative income spectrum face that hardship. So I was curious to see if a Raleigh franchise would be there. And in my calculations, Raleigh would sit almost exactly in the middle, almost number 15, 16 out of what would be 32, which obviously you're not going to enter the league and be the Dodgers or the Yankees. So being right in the middle there, I was surprised. That's a very healthy place to be for a franchise, to win on the margins of the financial stuff the way you can. They're going to have to renegotiate a new collective bargaining agreement, and they may need a salary floor, which I think they do, and they'll be arguing about a salary cap, which the owners want and the players don't. So there'll be some new ways in which money gets distributed, but it's already more equal than most people think. Teams throw in huge chunks of money to a general revenue sharing system. Even half of your merch stuff goes into the pot and then gets spit out to every team by MLB. And those numbers are around $200 million gets spit out to every team, which is, I think, an important factor in thinking about judging owners. Some owners get judged harsher than others, but there are some real misers out there not spending on their teams, given the normalization of some of that revenue that gets kicked back out. Anyway, go check out that piece from mine. It's on there. It's called Financial Might. See how I get my calculations, and also throw me any other questions you have. I'll be back on in a week or two, maybe with another guest, maybe one who lives in Raleigh and likes Raleigh. That'd be a good idea, right? See you.